Hey guys, Steven here with Belt of Truth Ministries. I'm on the line with Traylor Lovvorn. He's the Chief Ragamuffin founder and CEO of Route 1520 and the Executive Director of Undone, Redone. So, Traylor, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to somebody struggling with porn addiction?
Well, Stephen, the one thing that I would tell them, things that I wish someone had told me when I was neck deep in my struggle, was simply the truth that God was not angry with me and God wanted to join me in the struggle with pornography. Where I was and what kept me so imprisoned for so long was this belief that God had done his part at salvation. And for me, that happened when I was 11 years old, and it was all about him wiping the slate clean. But somewhere along the way I picked up this idea that I had to keep it clean, and being exposed when I was 8 years old, this ongoing struggle and believing that to know better equal to do better, well, that wasn't working for me. So all that really added a lot of my shame, to a lot of my shame that I now realize was only fueling more of the addiction instead of fixing it. So if I had known, and certainly want these guys who are listening here to know that they're a beloved son, if they're in Christ, that he's not angry, that he's not pissed off in any way, or even, I would say, disappointed positionally. Positionally, they have the full acceptance and love of their father. And for me, the transformation that was brought about was when I began to really allow that message to sink in, of the full gospel. That's when I began to experience true heart change. Grace was something that I didn't fully understand. I think for me, the Christian life was, you work as hard as you can to meet God's standard, which was perfection. So you're not going to quite get there. And grace is that little bit of extra to get you over the top. And man, recovery has completely flipped that paradigm for me. Because when I had that paradigm, passages that Paul would write about boasting in weakness, man, that made no sense to me. Because wait, I thought it was about leading with strength and having this perfect, pristine mask in place, which I was very good at doing for 30 something years. Boasting in weakness, Paul, what are you talking about? And later, twilight of his ministry, he talks about being the chief of sinner. That to me was not the positive PR campaign that we need to be, the good witness for Jesus that we need to be. Why would he say that? Well, it was recovery that helped me understand why Paul was saying that, because he really understood grace, and for most of my life I really didn't. And being able, in our groups, we have recovery groups that we lead here in the Birmingham, Alabama area. And one of the passages that are a part of our readings at every group is a passage from Titus 2. It says, "For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation for all people." That's verse 11. I got that part. So grace means salvation. But what I had missed was that grace was also transforming power. And so it goes on in verse 12 to say, "Training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in the present age." I thought that grace had saved me, and now, my sanctification came through sweat, effort, striving, more discipline, more willpower, all these things to show God, how thankful I am for what he had done for me with the cross. But to finally understand that no, grace not only saves, it's the power that is actually transforming me.
Hmm.
That was a complete game changer, because now overcoming sexual sin and any sin in my life is now through surrender, not through striving. And surrender for me, most of my life, it just felt like giving up and an easy out, and I was so afraid that would just be a license to continue down this road of all these sinful things. But what it's actually been is I've discovered my want tos. When I really now understand grace, that God is smiling, my desires are changing. Because when I understand that the Father is singing over me, according to Zephaniah chapter 3, and he's allowed me to begin to hear that melody, man, that's a game changer. Because now it's not just about the outward behavior that I was about for so many years. Now it's about really just resting in my position as a son, that I'm no longer an orphan. And for me, my life and what I've described here, I was a spiritual orphan, trying to pull off and do the Christian life on my own. Just like an orphan lives on his own. There's no power outside of he or she to act on their behalf. we do have that power. So anyway, that's a long answer to a great question. I wish that I had known that God was not angry, not pissed, not frustrated, not standing over there in the corner with his arms crossed, tapping his foot, wondering when I was going to get my act together so we could get on with kingdom business. Because what that did just left me alone in my struggle. And so all I knew to do with pain was to run to more pornography. And so bring your pain to the Father. He wants to enter into that place with you. He's safe. He's good. The backdrop of our ministry is Luke 15. And that story of the two sons illustrates everything that I'm talking about. The prodigal expected the best he was hoping for was to be reinstated or be instated as a servant, as a hired hand for his dad. Sonship was completely off the table based on what he had done. So if you're struggling, if you even last night, even 5 minutes ago, struggled and you're heaping the shame, remember, if you're in Christ, he is running after you. He wants to join you in that struggle, and the only way we can truly change is surrendering to the fact that we can't change. And once we do that, that begins to open the door to the true power of the gospel and the Spirit in our lives. So,
All right, I think that's awesome advice. Yeah, I mean I would agree. If there's just one thing, that's where you start. That's where you have to start. If you try and start anywhere else other than inviting God in, everything's going to be it's going to be off.
yeah,
So yeah, I agree fully. If there's one thing, that's where you start. Just
yeah.
inviting the Father in. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Trailer. Tell people where can they find out more about your ministry?
Yeah, our ministry is Route 1520, Route 1520, and like I said, that's the backdrop is Luke 1520, when the prodigal decides to come home, and so that's what we are about. Route1520.com is our website, but we help prodigals and elder brothers find their way home to the true heart of the Father, understanding this message of grace that beating ourselves up about bad behavior doesn't change the bad behavior, but actually accepting the scandalous nature of God's grace in our lives is what really brings about change. Melody, my wife, and I, we also do a weekly podcast. It's called Undone, Redone. That website is undoneredone.com. We have about almost 65 episodes up now, and just talking about our story of brokenness. Hers from more of an elder brother, mine from more of a prodigal with a public elder brother, secret prodigal. But our tagline is "Life is messy, bring your boots," and we just kind of flesh out more of these things there on the podcast.
Thanks for your time. All those links, I know you sent me more for Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. We'll put that in the show notes so people can find you. I love what you guys are doing. Keep up the great work. And yeah, anybody watching this video, check out Route 1520, Undone, Redone. It's all great stuff. So thanks again, Trailer.
Stephen, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing with your ministry as well. Look forward to maybe working with you down the road.
Sounds good. See ya.